crystal planets and plasma planets and everything out there that you can imagine. Beings who live in stars. Wonderful. There are places that are just robotic. They're just life forms that are robotic, that they really don't have any free will at all. I think people stand in line trying to come to Earth because you can experience something so different here. But they see your light as you go by, and they're attracted to your light, and they're feeding off of that because it feels good. They don't know that they're dead. They don't know that their body has died. I remind them that they're dead and remind them of where it is that they need to go next. So he kills this woman, and now he's in a different lifetime, and now the man is a woman in this lifetime. Okay.
Hi, this is Akanksha. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul podcast and a talk show. On this show, we talk about deep spiritual and mystical experiences of people which we normally shy away talking about. We are more than our physical body. We are spiritual beings on a human journey, and we discuss how a soul exists on multiple dimensions. We discuss science, technology, and spirituality point of views and perspectives on this show. Our purpose is to open our minds to limitless possibilities and our hearts to love and shine the light within bright. We have with us today Alba Weinman from the US, who is a quantum healing hypnosis therapist, that is QHHT therapist, introspective therapist, transpersonal therapist, and past life therapist. A very warm welcome, Alba, on Multidimensional Soul talk show and podcast. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Can you tell us about your journey? How did you get into hypnotherapy and this spiritual aspect?
It's a long journey, very long journey. I got into my spiritual path from very, very early on. I would say I was in my late 20s, in the 1980s. So that's when it began. I was at that point searching for something more. And I ran across two authors. The first one was Shirley MacLaine. She was an actress that was on her spiritual path, and she wrote a book, Out on a Limb. And I read that book, and it opened my eyes. There was no internet at this time. And then I ran across books by Ruth Montgomery, who wrote about automatic writing. And that really fascinated me. I started reading her books, and I had it in the back of my mind, wouldn't it be nice to be able to communicate with those on the other side? Just little seeds that you plant. I happened to be dating someone who said, would you like to go to a meeting with me? It's a very interesting concept. And I said, okay. At that time, I was a businesswoman, very, very professional. And at that time, you could not speak about anything spiritual in the workplace, or else you could lose your job, actually. You'd be ostracized if you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics, nothing like that. And I had a very high position, and I was in that train of thought of, this is all that matters, is my business world. And it happened to be a meeting about transcendental meditation. And I was not at all impressed. I sat there rolling my eyes the whole time, and this is not for me. This is not for me. I don't have time for this nonsense. This is what's going on in my mind. But when it came to signing up, the guy I was with says, so do you want to do it? And I went, all right. And I signed up for the for the class. And I went to the first meeting, the only meeting that I went to, and they talked to me about the sound that I was supposed to do in meditation. and to go off in the living room where everybody else was going to be meditating. And nothing happened except when I closed my eyes and I did the sound, my head started spinning around and up and back and forth. And I felt like I was the girl in The Exorcist. You know, my head was being spun around and it felt very uncomfortable. I opened my eyes, I looked around and I said, why is everybody else so calm and I'm being, you know, my head is just spinning. So I said, this is not going to work for me. So I went home and I said, you know what? Why don't I just try doing that in the privacy of my own home? But I'm going to use a pad and pen. And I'm going to see if maybe I can do this and also do the automatic writing. I didn't have much confidence in myself as to do it, but suddenly my pen started moving and it was all over the place. And I was afraid to open my eyes because I didn't know what was happening. And when I opened my eyes, all over the piece of paper, it kept saying over and over again, I am fine. I am your father. I'm okay. You know, it was just like, I am your father. I am your father. I'm your father. I'm okay. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I had channeled my father. And so I ran into my mother's room. You know, I lived with my mother at the time, and I said, you know, Dad has come through, and you know, she okay. And in the morning, she asked me, "What is it that you did?" And I told her exactly what I did. So when I came home from work, my mother said, "I did the same thing, and he came through to me." So both of us were doing automatic writing. Of course, the
Wow.
stuff that he was telling her was all about their marital issues. And for me, he was teaching me about life on the other side. He went through the whole process of how he left his body. He was very, very appreciative of how we treated him in the hospital and the care until the last minute, and some mischief that went on after after the funeral. He was all involved because he was a real mischief maker and he was right there with us. And so throughout the months, and I think it was a few years that followed, he was teaching me things from the other side. And then finally one day he says to me, I can't do this anymore because I have to go to school. And I didn't understand that concept. I said, what are you talking about? You're dead. Why would you need to go to school? And he says, no, you know, we need to advance, and I'm going to have another guide you from now on. And the teachings became more profound until finally that guide said, I'm done with my part of this. Now I'm going to pass you on to somebody else. And that one was really highly advanced. And I kept asking, you know, have you ever had a life here on Earth? And he says, yes, but I want you to just call me teacher. I was very narrow-minded about still these things. It was in the 90s, so I wasn't open to receiving more knowledge than was, but he was teaching me how to do manifestation. He was teaching me little tiny steps, because you have to understand this was in the 90s and the early 2000s, and none of this stuff was out there. So for us, the awakening took a really long time because there was nobody else to ask. So it was tiny steps. So he taught me how to manifest a car, and it was beautiful. It was a really great journey of doing this. And what I realized is that I was starting to almost channel information to other people without knowing it. The advice that I was getting, I automatically, when I was at work, people would come to me and I would give them advice as if I was doing the writings. And I didn't even know I was doing that. It was really, you know, there was no such word as channeling at that time. You know, people didn't use those terminologies didn't really exist in the mainstream. So one day, one man says to me, you know, Alba, you should do coaching, life coaching, because you have helped me so much in my life. And I loved it. I loved being able to do that for people. Whenever they were in front of me, my mouth would just run and run and run. And I would pull things that I didn't know where I was pulling them from. And of course, I'm saying this now hindsight because I didn't know what I was doing. So I took the leap of faith and I went into coaching. I started doing life coaching, but I was doing it on the phone, and I was very afraid of doing things in person, you know, the coaching in person. But one day my teacher, my spiritual teacher said to me, you know that your name is going to be known all around the world, and you're going to be doing this work face to face. And that compliment, if it was one, it didn't feel like a compliment. It felt like a really like bizarre thing. I just said to the teacher, I said, I think you're on crack. This is not going to happen. The first thing that I thought is I'm no Tony Robbins, okay? And so that seed was planted into my mind with me not understanding how possibly it could be. And I kept saying to myself, how could I possibly help a lot of people if I've never really been through anything in my life? I lived a very easy life, some ups and downs career-wise, but you know, when you have an impact like somebody dies or it really changes your life. And be careful what you ask for, because I kept saying, I don't have a motivational story to say to help other people. I don't have anything in my life. 2 years after that was told to me, the most bizarre things started happening in my life. My son was arrested. He was 18. He was arrested for something he did not do. It was big. It made international news. It was a witch hunt in our town, in our city. He was totally innocent, and I was thrown into the world of law and police and all of these things, which were horrific. And of course, all of the neighbors were so shocked that I actually had to flee from my home. I lost my home. I lost my savings. He was put under house arrest for over 17 months for something he did not do. And of course, the whole world was condemning him. They made a documentary on it, almost convicting him on the air, which is still being aired around the world. It taught me so much. It ripped off my rose-colored glasses about the world. I thought people were nice. I really had this fairy tale idea about the world because I was raised in a very beautiful family with kind-hearted people. And here I was tossed into this insanity. And I learned about the media. I learned about law enforcement. I learned about law. I learned about all these things and how it affects people. At the end of the day, about after 17 months or so, we finally were able to bring forth the evidence that he was innocent. And all of a sudden, it just disappeared. You know, there was no apology, nothing. He was exonerated. He moved on with his life, and I was left stunned because I had been under so much stress. You know, as a mother, you feel everything that your child goes through on a different level. I had so much anger inside of me, so much anger, that I said, if I don't get this anger out, I'm going to get cancer. I'm going to get something because it's just a toxic, concoction in my body. And so I started taking up kickboxing, and I was able to punch and kick the anger out of me. And I was in the best shape of my life at that time. I felt great because I was getting it out. I was learning forgiveness. I was forgiving these people for what they had done to him, to our family. And suddenly, out of nowhere, I started getting into like little mini accidents, tripping over my dog, breaking something, getting tendonitis. All of a sudden, I felt like my guides were trying to kill me because And I kept saying, just please don't throw me down the stairs, just be kind to me. But I knew something was up because I couldn't go to kickboxing anymore. And I was sitting around just with ice all over me because I was in so much pain from everything that was hurting. And I found Dolores Cannon. Just popped up on my iPad. And I went, oh, that's what you guys are trying to tell me. And I realized that I had been coaching as a part-time. I was still doing my regular work, but I was coaching other people through my ordeal. But I wasn't getting into their soul. And this was the next level. This was the next level that I needed to go into. So when I saw her, I said, oh, that's the coaching, but getting into their soul. So I immediately bought all her books that were required reading for the class. I did the class, and as soon as I finished the class, because there were different rules at the time. As soon as I finished the class, I started doing hypnosis immediately. And that's how I started my hypnosis path, doing that.
Which year was that when you're...
That was 2000, at the end of 2013 is when I discovered Dolores Cannon. So
Okay.
Beginning in 2014, I remember that distinctly because I was taking her class and there were fireworks going on in the background. So it was the end of 2013.
Okay.
So,
and then after that, I understand you have done different modalities
Yes.
in hypnosis itself. So can you just talk
Yes.
about that?
Yeah. So after I started doing the hypnosis with Dolores Cannon's method, I had a colleague who went to the second level class with me, Antonio Sangio, and he told me, Alba, there's this hypnotherapist from Colombia that does really interesting work. Why don't you watch him? And he had thousands of videos in Spanish. And I speak Spanish. So at the time, my hobby was sewing, and I would sew at night and watch his videos. So I was learning techniques just by watching him. And what happened is that when you watch somebody, you just absorb information. And I started using some of the techniques in the QHHT sessions. And I was feeling very guilty about it because when you do QHHT, they want it to be absolutely perfectly their modality without any interference. And I felt I couldn't do it without that because I was coming across things that weren't part of the technique. And I remember one session which changed my life. I was very, self-conscious about stuff. And I said to the guys, I feel very guilty doing what I did today because it's not the modalities exactly how I was taught. And this is talking to his higher self. And he turns over to me and he looks at me without his eyes open and he says, "This is your session. Own it." And that was my permission slip. So I started doing his modality. I went to Colombia. I studied. I shadowed him for about 11 days and just was watching him do his work. And then I realized if I start doing his work, and because I was putting my videos online at that time, I'm going to get in trouble because there are certain laws in the state of Florida where I live that you cannot do therapy unless you are certified as a therapist. That's not the same case all over, but in Florida it is. So I ended up taking the course to become certified as a hypnotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist, and transpersonal hypnotherapist. Recently, in the last, I guess, few years, I've studied under another hypnotherapist who lives in Spain, Dr. Jose Luis Cabuli. He does it's called past life therapy, but it's more like, it's like therapy for the soul. It's like a surgery. You go in and you go out. It's fast. It's very targeted. There's no induction. You just go in, take care of business, and go out. There's no asking what's your name or, where are you? It's basically, you go right to the trauma of the soul and you get out. So I've combined all of these techniques, plus, of course, my own as I learn. The Alba way, which I don't even know what it is because I just do it.
So, did you receive the downloads for your own method, and do you still use transcendental meditation to go deeper, or how is it done?
No, I don't use any particular technique to go deeper, except as soon as I go into a session, I'm there with them. I'm actually there. So I consider every one of my sessions a meditation. When I first started this work, my prayer to God, whatever you call God, was make me an instrument, make my voice your instrument, to where whenever I do a session, those words are your words. So that's how I do everything. It's like make those words be God's words, and whatever goes through that, it's either through vibration of my voice or whatever, it's guided. And I know it's guided because I have no idea what I'm going to do in the next few seconds. It just comes to me. I'm just guided to say certain things, guided to ask certain things. I'm a blank slate when I go into a session.
Yeah, so essentially you are channeling at that time the higher beings, whatever comes.
Well, I asked about that once. I have a really good friend who channels a spirit, who's a teacher, and I asked, what goes on during my session? And he says, well, you are channeling your higher self.
Yeah.
In fact, your higher self is so powerful, it does not allow any others to come through. It will take advice from all of those who are around, but in the end, my higher self is my gatekeeper. It will not allow something else to come through. So I think that's pretty cool.
Correct. Yeah.
It's like having a really strong, higher self. That's how I feel. I don't call it channeling. It's just a flow. It just flows through.
Yeah. Essentially, channeling is higher knowledge flowing through.
Yeah.
Either directly your higher self or any other higher beings.
Yes.
The person who is going under hypnosis, that is accessing, he or she is accessing the lifetimes and the quantum field, or whatever you want to call the higher realms, higher beings, everything through hypnosis. So that's one of the main queries like I had, is because in channeling you go directly to the superconscious, but in hypnosis, is it like you go through subconscious to the superconscious?
Yes. There's different parts of you. There's the conscious mind, the thinking mind, the one that tries to tell you what to do. That's the one that's the conscious. You have the subconscious mind, which is where there's a lot of processing there. A lot of the memories are there. And then you have the superconscious, which you would call the higher self. When I'm working with a person, I'm starting always with the subconscious mind. I don't go any higher because what I'm dealing with is traumas of the soul. So when I start a session, my first intention is to allow the soul to take you wherever it is that you need to heal. In most cases now, the work that I'm doing in the last few years, it is taking them to memories of their childhood or memories of things that happened to them that really hurt. Because my belief since very early on is you can't really get higher unless you deal with the stuff here. And up until the age of 7, we're being programmed by society, by our parents, and everything that goes into that child is going to later be triggered by something similar. So if a child is bullied in school or bullied by their parents, as they get older, similar situations are going to make them act like that child again because it was never resolved. No one was there to save them, no one was there to care for them. So, a lot of those issues are still festering the adult life, and we need to first take care of that. And then we will deal with anything that's beyond that. But my work now, it's changed quite a bit. It really is helping all of these star seeds, all of these light workers who have chosen, their soul has chosen these horrific childhoods to to be born in, and they're trying to do this work, but they still haven't taken care of all of the issues from their past. So it's important for me to deal with that before we can go off world, should I say, and go higher, because and some of these people cannot access higher realms because they may have entities that are attached to them. They may have other issues going on. So we need to take care of that business first.
I have had entities attacking, shadow entities, and especially during the last 2-3 years, of course, then I had to deal with them. But that is the time I realized that your close ones, family, friends, they may have shadows at the unconscious level. They may not realize that they are there. And then there are some residual energies. They go and parasitically kind of attach themselves to these shadows, and then those shadow entities start attacking you. So it was like a big revelation that
exactly, and that's so common. That's so common, and it's not always relatives. You may go to the hospital to visit somebody, and somebody attaches to you, and you take them home, and your life becomes crazy. Or you may pass in a car where there was an accident and somebody died suddenly there, and all of a sudden, it's not like they're doing it on purpose. It's not like they're parasites living off of you, but they see your light as you go by, and they're attracted to your light, and they're feeding off of that because it feels good. They don't know that they're dead. They don't know that their body has died. Right. So in my work, I remind them that they're dead and remind them of where it is that they need to go next.
And what can people do on day-to-day basis so that, because light workers and starseeds are mostly empaths, and then they tend to attract these kind of energies. So what can we do to make sure that they don't get attached to us?
Well, the most important thing is your own vibration. Your own vibration, because everything in the universe is an attraction. So even though you're a light worker, if you're not in a very good mood, or you're angry about your neighbor doing something, or your husband, or your children, you're going to lower your vibration. So it's important that you maintain your spiritual hygiene. You keep yourself clean mentally and physically, and everything, emotionally especially. And like I said before, the light workers, a lot of them have come into this world in a very dark place, because they're lights. Where else would you put a light but in a dark place? So they start their life in a very dark place, and they tend to, a lot of them tend to have this vibration, lower vibration, kind of hidden beneath the I'm light and love type of thing. They may be going around the world saying, oh, I'm so loving, and I just want love and light, but deep inside there's a cesspool in there. There's really dark stuff. So vibration is going to react with who you truly are. So we need to work on those issues that are keeping you in a low vibration in order for you truly to be love and light, not just masquerading as love and light. Does that make sense?
Yeah, true. Because I myself do shadow work, and
There you go.
I coach people on shadow work. But in my case, it was a little different because my aura had weakened because of the grief that, and
Right,
I have been
exactly.
processing that for the last 4
Yeah, that happens. They will find a way to attach, to work to live off of your life force, and unfortunately, we don't know about it. Sometimes you'll notice that someone changes, their personality changes overnight, and you wonder, like, what happened to you? And it's like you're reflecting that other being's personality, that other entity's personality. So
year.
you have to watch out for that. You have to watch. And people ask me, like, what can I do about this? The first thing I do is I pray about it. I pray about it. There are some times where, honestly, I'll say, this is too big for me to handle. I need divine guidance, divine assistance. I need this done. Um, I need to move on with my life because this is too big. And you do get help. You do. So if there's something that you feel is, maybe you do have attachments, I would pray for them. I don't like the idea of people like trying to exercise them, like, you know, leave, because they need help. These are beings that need love and help. And by you yelling at them and trying to, use an exorcist, or, it's not, you need to love them back home. It's like as if somebody came into your house and they were hungry and they're stealing your food. You'd find a way perhaps to get them an alternative way of eating out of your home. But not being, horrible yourself, because that lowers your vibration too.
Absolutely. Yeah, so when we discussed about the trauma in the childhood, that trauma can also be across lifetimes. And typically in past life therapy, we call this as past lives.
Yeah.
But in the quantum field, they are parallel lives, as in everything is happening at the
Mhm.
same time because
Yeah.
time is not linear. How does any trauma from any other lifetime impact in this lifetime? Apart from trauma, are there anything else that impact in this lifetime?
Well, let's start with other lifetimes. Yes, they can impact you because we tend to always be learning the same lesson over and over again. And until we get it right, it's like school. Until you pass your test, you're going to have to repeat that class, or you're going to have to repeat the test over and over again until you get it. And so we tend to be living different lifetimes with the same test. And if something happens in one life, sometimes you carry it over into another life and still hold those feelings. So, for example, if somebody, I'll just use a man is married to this woman, she's driving him crazy. So he kills her, or he really, really hurts her badly. Let's say he was in that life because he needed to learn how to get along with this woman. They may have been doing this different lifetimes, and it's not about them, it's about how you react to this person. You're the one who has to change the way you react to her being so annoying or nagging so much, or it's you who is learning this lesson. So he kills this woman, and now he's in a different lifetime, and now the man is a woman in this lifetime. Okay, and she's kind of attracted to this man, and the man starts chasing after her, and she decides to marry him, but realizes he's really not the man that she thought he was. Perhaps he's a narcissist, perhaps, he's just nasty, doesn't really show much affection. So now she is plotting. against him. Not to kill him, but basically, I'm not going to do anything that I should for him. And the marriage becomes really, really rough. She had a chance in this lifetime to make it a decent marriage and not kill him this time. Okay? So her mission may have been to come to this life and somehow end this life as friends, live through the marriage, maybe have children with this man, but leave in amicable situation, where, okay, you live your life, I live my life, we're not going to kill each other, and the karma ends here. Okay? But that's just one situation, obviously. But you may be in the same situation where you have to learn how to forgive people. So you will keep getting tests throughout your whole life where people betray you and you have to change the way you are, because obviously you're attracting these people for a lesson. When you can be neutral about what has happened with somebody and realize it's not your thing, why would you get upset about something that you have no control over? When you get to a point where you're neutral, it's like you pass the test. So this is happening in every lifetime because it's the same spirit, and it has souls in different bodies, and you're learning. It's a big learning experience. Did that answer your question?
Oh, yes, yes. So essentially, you are redeeming your karma in across lifetimes and learning the lessons. When your lesson is learned,
Yes.
then that will go away, is what you're saying.
You go. Yeah, and of course, then there's the next lesson you have to learn. Because we're always learning different lessons,
Yeah, true. As we are ascending, many of us have finished karmic cycles, and
Mhm.
it is probably last lifetime for many of us. And many of us have also restored soul memories or remember our lives from different star systems or from
Mhm.
higher dimensions. So, have you come across this with your clients that they have had different lifetimes in different star systems?
Absolutely. It's all over the place as different looking beings and crystal planets and plasma planets and everything out there that you can imagine. Beings who live in stars. It's really amazing. And to me, because I travel with them in my sessions, it's almost like remote viewing. You're there. To me, it's fascinating. It's almost like I'm a tourist going like, oh my God, this is an amazing place. As they're describing it, I'm there with them. It's almost like I'm like a ghost next to them as they're experiencing it. And I'm fascinated with what's there. And there are so many different types of beings, so many different types of environments. And some places are very, very advanced where, these souls are just beautiful, kind hearted, wonderful. There are places that are just robotic. They're just they're just life forms that are robotic, that they really don't have any free will at all. I had one the other day, which was very strange. I mean, they're basically just given bodies. Bodies are made just like we make clothes, and they're launched off. It's kind of like, this is your car, this is what you do. And they get there and they just do the work and then they get recycled. There's so many different types of environments. So it's not all much more higher. There's souls that are living very, very low vibration, very, some of them are warring type of societies where the whole idea is war. So there's so much out there. There's so much diversity out there. So we come to Earth. Earth is kind of, I think people stand in line trying to come to Earth because you can experience something so different here. You know, it really is a totally different environment on Earth. We can we come here with that veil of forgetfulness. So it's like being able to experience everything without any previous knowledge, and you get to do this, and you get to try all of your emotions here without knowing what anybody else thinks about you. It really is a very unique and amazing place, this planet Earth, because in other places there isn't that. You just know. You just know things.
Can you tell us about any of your clients' experience where they have had lifetimes in different galaxies or different star systems, and they have given some predictions about Earth, what is going to happen now?
I don't recall the predictions coming from a particular planet. There is, what was that? Sirius B. There are people who live in a star system, but they basically live on spaceships. I mean, they're just basically on spaceships. I have one particular client who's a really good friend, and she's been able to see things into the future, especially the stuff that's going on right now, all of the weather patterns. And the beautiful thing about the predictions is that no matter what's going on with the weather, when you are connected, you will know what to do. If you're supposed to leave that place, you will be told to leave that place. If you're not supposed to leave and you're supposed to perish, that's the end. That's what's going to happen. Because honestly, you already know there is no death. We're just transforming. The soul doesn't really care, about that, because it's just an experience. It's like waking up from sleep once you get to the other side. The predictions about the weather are really, really what I've been receiving a lot, that things can change in a blink of an eye. Really, just one moment you're here, one moment you're somewhere else, and there's nothing for us to worry about. Nothing for us to worry about. Just what's important is for you to be grounded, to be centered, to have that connection with your divine, source. And that's been the most important thing, is know that at any moment when things around you feel like they're just falling apart, that you know how to connect with that source, because some things are terrifying. We just saw a huge earthquake happen where it's terrifying to watch. And at that moment, you need to be able to make that connection with that divine source, and know that there's no accidents in life. Things are going to happen, but you're going to be okay. That's the message that I'm getting.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. And how can people connect with you?
Well, the way people connect with me is through my website, albaweinman.com. And if they want a hypnosis session with me, it's done via a mailing list. People sign up for my newsletter. It comes out once a month. I have very limited sessions each month. So I send out to everyone in the world my newsletter with the appointments available. And if they're divinely guided, they will press that button and see a session there, and they'll book it.
We'll give all the links of your YouTube channel, of your website, and the socials in the description.
Yes. Perfect.
It's been absolutely a pleasure having you here, Alba. Thank you so much. I look forward to hosting you again in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's been a pleasure talking to you too. You're a beautiful soul. You could feel it radiating, and I loved it. So I hope you continue and are able to do more with it.
Thank you.
Thank you for
so
having
much.
me
Very
here.
kind of you. Thank you for watching and listening in wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we all are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and our guests. And if you resonate with me, do subscribe to my channel and do let us know how you find our episodes. Thank you so much. Lots of love.